they must go. Why do we need to be saved? We need to be saved so that we can be with God. And God is a holy God. He has not got anything that is dirty in heaven. There is nothing in heaven that is sinful. So remember, that is important first step. We must acknowledge that we have sinned. Now, not only do we explain to them that there is that we've all sinned, we also need to say the second part. There is a penalty that must be paid. What was the verse? The wages of sin is death. And in Romans 6 verse 23, that's where it says those words. The wages of sin is death. Look at this. The wages of that sin is exactly the same as the wages of that sin. Is that fair? From our perspective, no, it isn't. But from God's perspective, it is. Because he says quite clearly, I can't have anything that is sinful in my kingdom. So we need to be aware. In Hebrews 9 and verse 27, we are told this. Man is destined to die once, and then the judgment. There is a penalty that must be paid for every person that has sinned. If we go and we meet God without being right with Jesus, we must pay that penalty ourselves. We must be punished. We must die. Does that mean that God doesn't love us? Of course not. God still loves us. But he is a holy God. And he is a just God. Because his son died on the cross, he must hold firm to that judgment. Because otherwise he would be unjust to his son. And we will see later what happens. So we have a fact of sin, which you've all admitted to. And there is a penalty that must be paid. We are called once to die, and then we will be judged. The day before I came to Kenya, I buried my mother. I buried my mother. It was a sad occasion. For two reasons. One, my mother is no longer here on earth. But secondly, I don't know where she stood with Jesus. She knew the gospel. But the one thing I know for definite, God is a just God. My mother was not very well educated. She didn't understand. But I still know that God will be just. My prayer is that somehow she knew, but she could never explain. But for those of us that know about the fact of sin, that sin exists in us, and if we're prepared to acknowledge our own guilt before God, it is then that God can do something. You see, in the church today, in Europe especially, we don't talk about sin anymore. We don't talk about the penalty. It's too harsh. We can't say that people are sinners. We can't say that they do things wrong. And we certainly mustn't tell them they're going to die for it. But this is the gospel. Now, gospel means good news. So far, this isn't very much good news. Until we reach the third step. The third step is this. Jesus paid the penalty. Romans 5:8. God demonstrates his own love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Now I want you to notice something in that verse. That is very, very, very important. It doesn't call Jesus Jesus. He says Christ died for us. I wish to inform you of something very important. Christ is not Jesus' surname. It's who he is. It is who he is. Christ means Messiah. Christ means Savior. It's not his name. It's who he is. It's Jesus, the Savior. Jesus, the Messiah. Every other religion in the world is looking for their Messiah. We know who he is. He's come. And he lives in those who love him. They are still looking for him. We have found him. He paid the penalty.